So there's been a few things that I've been thinking about quite intensely over the last 10 days. Last week I had LEAP surgery, which is where they scrape off the abnormal cells on your cervix and you go under general anesthetic, and I'm still recovering from that. And I also just had my implant removed, so I'm now completely synthetic hormone free, which it's been many years since I've been all natural, which has brought up a lot of stuff and a lot of questions and a lot of why did I do that? And I really think I feel bad about choosing to go on contraception, but I forget about the pain that I was going through. And so to just, understand what I was going through at the time in my early 20s with extremely heavy periods and, debilitating pain, like I couldn't get out of bed sometimes, some periods. And there were times where I should have gone to the hospital because I had lost so much blood that my iron was low. And I was so dizzy, and I couldn't get out of bed because of iron deficiency related to period things. So my mind has been on my cervix and what it represents, which is boundaries. The cervix is the boundary between the external world and feminine creation. And boundaries just makes me always think about the boundaries between me and my creativity and my essence and my intuition and what other people want me to be, or what role other people want me to play in their world, in their society, in their group. And my cervix is that physical anchor of that boundary. And so my abnormal cells sort of just tells me that my boundaries need to be stronger and healthier. I experience a lot of anger towards women around me who placate and dismiss things. Because that's what I've done a lot for myself. I don't think it's necessarily a trust thing. Like I wouldn't say I trust everyone. It's just a conformity, convenience sort of thing. Which brings me to the pill. So generally when girls and women are educated about the pill, this is from my experience, we're taught that, the pill does this and it can help with that, and going on any form of contraception can help people with PMS or people with severe pain or heavy periods like me. I'm not sure if people with endometriosis are suggested to go on the pill or not, but there are a few people who are encouraged to consider the pill. Side effects are sort of, well, at least for me, I felt like they were brushed through, and at least when I started, I had no idea the actual implications it had on my cycle. Because thinking about it now, it's huge. It's bonkers. So I've done some more research and I now know, or maybe re-know, that when we go on synthetic hormone-related contraception, whatever the thing is, it flattens our ovulation hormonal high, like whatever goes up, a bit of testosterone, estrogen, all that sort of stuff, that just gets flattened. And so we enter a perpetual state of being in early pregnancy, which is constantly sustained by the hormones. And I was writing about this morning, the idea of willingly freezing my feminine cycle to one tiny part of the whole cycle feels like shrinking my essence. And I was thinking about it in terms of like lunation. If the moon that has, 28 and a half day cycle, 29-day cycle, was paused and stayed in the waxing moon, so between the new and the first quarter, for 7 years, what havoc would be wreaked on the earth? What species would become extinct? What happens when we lose the tides? What happens when currents that take baby turtles and coral sperm and all these other beautiful little intricate things that rely on the moon, either directly or indirectly, would cease to exist? And it's really upsetting just thinking about that. So it feels like this, hormonal contraception that either controls when you have your period because of like the sugar pill sort of thing, or the Implanon, or the Mirena if it has the hormones, because constantly stabilized through daily or just constant hormonal release. It feels unnatural to me now, as I am now. I didn't know enough in my early 20s. I wasn't a woman, I would say. I was still a young lady, a girl. And I am absolutely appalled that this would be allowed. But then I look at the system and I can see why. And I've often thought about, whether there's a boardroom of scheming people who are like, oh, let's figure out ways that we can undermine and gaslight women into being less of themselves, being less of their true selves and being less of their true power, and let's just make them all confused and moody and, self-conscious. And there probably isn't a boardroom like that. But certain men have the energy energy of the participants of that boardroom, for sure. Because some of the side effects of contraception are affect libido, reduce it. For me, sexual desire and creativity are one. So, lowered creativity, lowered motivation. Because the testosterone that women experience happens during our ovulation, and if that's dulled too, then we lose some of that slightly aggressive push, creative burst of action. We lose our Mars sort of energy. And that's what I've experienced. I've experienced lowered libido, lowered motivation, confusion, like decision fatigue, inability to make decisions because I'm just confused. And I remember how I was in my early 20s, putting aside my knowledge and wisdom and all that sort of stuff. But I made choices and I stuck with them and I tried more things and I was less tentative, and I don't feel like it's just been my behaviour that's changed things. I feel like there has been this underlying invisible thing trying to mold me. And I really now just realised that that was partly because of the hormones I had willingly put into my body. And I'm sure there are other things at play here. I'm not saying that this is the one thing that's made my experience the way it has been. But the fact that all the medical writing, it's not specific in the sense that when you are told that there is a certain chance of certain side effects, I think it's very natural for humans to just say, oh, that won't be me. I think it's very natural because we want to be the exception, we want to be special, we want to be unique. And we are. Everyone is different, everyone is unique as themselves. Our genetic makeup proves that there is no repeated person in the world and in history. So yes, we are all unique and very special, but we have to remember that Western medicine flattens us and turns us into our physical system, usually alone. So when you're told that some people experience this, that some people experience this side effect, and some people do experience this other side effect, there's nothing to define or to teach us or even suggest that, oh, that could be us, that could be me. If the side effects were more specific, in the sense that women who identify as being highly intuitive seem to experience these side effects. Women that have sensitive stomachs, intolerances, celiac, IBS, FODMAP, they seem to experience more of this. It would feel much more cohesive and much more supportive. But each system of the body feels separated in Western medicine. And I feel like the potential, I don't actually know what my true side effects are yet because I've just gotten off them. I've just become synthetic hormone free the last 2 days. So it's going to be another 8 weeks until I can properly comment and share my shifts and my changes. But times, I cannot tell you the number of times that I have wondered why my body is changing and why what previously worked does no longer work for me. And I have never considered it's the fact that I have had prolonged exposure to synthetic hormones to change my menstrual cycle. I have never thought about that. And I feel stupid. Because I am someone who loves insight. I am someone who likes knowing all perspectives. I like knowing, all the relevant information. And, a piece of plastic in my arm is relevant information for me when I know that my hormones are impacting my life, my figure, my ability to shed weight and put on weight, and how I feel, if I'm feeling bloated and heavy. And I know that the hormones are so magical, and I think they're so sensitive in some ways. And I don't think there's enough, or at least there's not enough general knowledge about them. Would I tell my daughter when I have one to consider contraception? Fuck no. If she had issues with pain, PCOS, or PMS, or PMDD, I would want her to get multiple opinions, and some outside of the Western medicine system. And I would fight fiercely for her to have a healthy, 0 to low side effect probability life if she needed treatment for something like this. If you like this thought essay and how I think and what I stand for, then I invite you to keep watching. I plan to share more of these, and I have really enjoyed writing. I have a series of audio portals, as I call them. To me, they're audio art, but they are designed to uplift, liberate, and make women who listen to them feel powerful and ready to take the next step in their own liberation, because I just think that's the most important thing. I want women to love themselves as much as they can. I want women to love their voice. I want women to use their voice, and by God, the world is becoming a much better place because women are using their superpowers and their super sensitivities, which are powers, and their intuition and their creativity and our collective thinking, because women think of we. We always think about, oh, how can we? And I just think that's one of the best things about us, and more of that, please, universe. And more women who want to create change for the better, for all.